We often believe we can understand someone the moment we look at them. The way they dress, the way they speak, the choices they make. We think these details tell us everything. But life has a way of humbling that assumption. In moments of pressure, especially when we're tired or struggling, it's easy to label people quickly and move on. The waitress saw an empty tip line and felt the familiar sting of being overlooked, and in that instant, a story formed in her mind about who that man was. But that story was incomplete. What we forget is that everyone walks in carrying a history we can't see, battles, intentions, and decisions that don't announce themselves. When we judge too soon, we don't just misunderstand others. We limit our own capacity for hope, because sometimes what looks like indifference is simply a moment waiting to reveal its truth. Bess. There's a particular kind of disappointment that comes from giving your best and feeling invisible. For a single mother balancing long hours, tired feet, and quiet worries about tomorrow, that empty tip line wasn't just about money. It felt like confirmation of a fear she carried every day, that no matter how hard she worked, it would never be enough. In that moment, frustration mixed with exhaustion and the weight of responsibility pressed a little heavier on her shoulders. She still had bills to pay, a child to feed, and another shift to survive. Yet, like so many people in her position, she swallowed the feeling and kept moving because stopping wasn't an option. Disappointment didn't grant her the luxury of giving up. It simply reminded her how fragile hope can feel when life keeps testing it. And sometimes, the deepest strength shows up right after the sharpest letdown. It was only after the table was cleared, after the moment had seemingly passed, that everything shifted. As she reached for the plate, something felt different, heavier than expected. Tucked quietly beneath it was what she hadn't thought to look for: a message, a gesture, proof that the story wasn't finished yet. In that instant, confusion turned into disbelief, and disbelief into emotion she hadn't allowed herself to feel all day. What was hidden wasn't meant for show or applause. It required patience to be discovered, and that's often how life works. The most meaningful things don't announce themselves loudly. They wait until we slow down, until we're ready to see beyond our assumptions. What she found under that plate wasn't just money or words. We're used to generosity looking a certain way: loud, immediate, easy to recognize. A tip left clearly on the table, praise spoken out loud, kindness that asks to be seen. But true generosity doesn't always follow that script. Sometimes it moves quietly, without explanation, without the need for validation. What that moment revealed was that not all giving is designed for instant comfort. Some of it is meant to teach patience, humility, and trust. Billionaire didn't leave what was expected, and that absence felt like indifference at first. But what he gave instead carried intention, depth, and timing. It challenged the idea that value is measured only by what's obvious. Real generosity often requires us to look closer, to wait longer, and to reconsider our assumptions. Because the most meaningful acts aren't always placed in our hands. Sometimes they're placed just out of sight, waiting to be found. When life keeps testing you, faith and patience can feel like the hardest things to hold on to. For her, perseverance wasn't a motivational quote or a choice she made once. It was something she practiced every day. She showed up even when she was tired, smiled even when her heart was heavy, and kept moving forward because someone depended on her. That kind of endurance doesn't come from certainty. It comes from hope, even when hope feels fragile. She didn't know what waited under that plate, and she didn't keep working because she expected a reward. She worked because giving up wasn't an option. And that's the quiet power of perseverance. It carries us through moments before we understand why they matter. Sometimes the breakthrough doesn't arrive when we're strong and confident, but when we've simply chosen not to stop. And in those moments, patience becomes the bridge between struggle and transformation. We rarely recognize the moment that changes everything while we're standing in it. It often feels ordinary, even disappointing, until time reveals its weight. What began as another long shift became the turning point she would remember for the rest of her life. Not because of luck, but because of a single, intentional act. One decision, made quietly, had the power to ease years of struggle and open doors she never thought possible. And that's the part we often forget. Transformation doesn't always arrive as a dramatic event. Sometimes it comes disguised as an ending, a letdown, or a misunderstanding. But when it reveals itself, it reminds us how connected our lives truly are. The smallest choice can ripple outward, reshaping futures in ways we'll never fully see. And in that realization lies a responsibility for all of us. Because at any moment, we may be someone else's turning point.